welcome back or welcome in. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Magpie, for those of you that don't know. Today I want to introduce you to one of my favorite OCs. We will be walking through the process of designing and illustrating her and diving a little bit into her lore and her world. Did I say one video a week? Yes. Was I a week late for this video? Yes. Life sucker punched me, so the last 2 weeks were hard. Moving on. When I first drew Thena, my goal was to create a character I loved drawing. It was an attempt to keep my motivation for art going. I love D&D, and I created her the same way that I normally design my D&D characters, by letting the dice decide. She's a half-orc, half-tiefling. I really enjoyed mashing those two concepts together. I think they go really well together. I enjoy drawing interesting face shapes, and I wanted to give her an interesting nose, sharper eyes. I gave her curly or wavy hair depending on the interpretation. I love the slight spiral horns and pointed ears I gave her. It took me a long time to decide what her face actually looked like. I changed a lot of the orientation and proportions multiple times, seeing what worked and didn't work. I have used her for expression studies, anatomy studies. She's been my study buddy for a long time now. The expression study you're seeing me do is a mix of me studying art that I think has very compelling expressions and wanting to learn how to replicate how artists were able to capture the expression, as well as portrait studies. I think that's why I was so face blind when drawing Thena here. I tried to find the art that I had studied to make the expression on the bottom left. I love that expression. What I loved most about that expression was the eyebrows and the angle the artist went for with them. I think I managed a good version of it for Thena. I also feel like that is the closest one to how she actually looks. I want to build out more of her world, but what I know so far is that her mother was a noblewoman among orcs. I named her Shazmorn. She was the third wife of the Orc King. With her mother's character, I wanted to subvert the trope of orcs being violent and dumb creatures. I wanted her mom to come off as a very intelligent and capable woman. Her mother is incredibly strong and well-built physically, but she relied more on her wits than her brawn to survive among her people. She fled from the orc civilization after realizing that she couldn't influence the Orc King to try and improve the lives of the orcs, and realizing her and her future children would meet the same fate as his past wives and their children. While in hiding, Shaz meets a purple tiefling named Sage. Sage is a celestial warlock and a well-read scholar. His family has passed down a protector and patron pact for generations with a, not sure how to say this creature name, but I think it is pronounced Kotal? Kautal? Catel?
Puaddle.
Named Ez. Thena was the child of Shaz and Sage. Thena was blessed with loving and intelligent parents. She's been training her whole life to inherit her father's patron pact. Though she knows how to use magic in theory, she has no magical abilities in her younger life. I wanted to do some fun comparison of art I did 2 years ago compared to art of Thena I did recently, to celebrate the growth that I've had. This first one was a study I did trying to learn more about anatomy, lighting, and backgrounds. You might see the background at the end and see where most of my energy went. I like character art more. I'm sorry. I think I did really well with this one. I do think the face doesn't match Thena very well. Maybe it's a younger version of her, but that's not what I was going for here. I really like the lighting and clothes, but dang, that shoulder. I guess I never saw how big it looks in comparison to the rest of the body. I think some liquefy would really help here. I think the biggest mistake I made here was that I was studying a base, or a drawing that another artist had made. One of those pose references that's just the skeleton of the character or just blocky shapes of the character. This one was specifically by an artist named Melon on Pinterest. I don't know their full artist name. I enjoy looking at a lot of their different poses and using them for inspiration. In In the past, though, I think I relied too heavily on finding bases that other artists had drawn to figure out how I wanted to portray my characters. I think that the correct way to study this, now that I've been doing it for long enough, is actually going in and studying the anatomy of actual photos of real people, or participating in studies where you can go into a class where there's a model. I think those actually really help you understand why you're putting the lines down that you're putting and understand a little bit better the anatomy of characters. But I don't think you're going to understand the mistakes that you're making or why you're making those mistakes over and over if you're studying a pose that another artist already drew, rather than real anatomy. Chances are the artist that drew that base already understands the proportions of their character and why they're placing down the lines that they're placing. So you want to make sure that if you're actually trying to study these things and you want to improve your art, that's one thing that you're taking a look at and actually taking time to study. Sometimes it's not fun, so I do encourage people to try and create a character like Thena where you're just excited about drawing them or you find them compelling and you're able to use them as your study buddy. This would likely be a picture of Thena before she gains her magical abilities. Okay, here's the final illustration. I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. Like I said, this illustration was done 2 years later from that last illustration. This was a study to learn more about anatomy and perspective. When I do full illustration studies like this one, I'm usually practicing and learning a few different things, but I usually try to pick 1 to 2 main things that I want to try to take away from the illustration and the study. I love how this one turned out. A lot of my drawing process requires you to trust the process. I think I'm getting better at making my sketches look more presentable on their own, but I usually need to reach a more polished and painted step in the process to really see the payoff. When I was drawing Thena during this time, she was still just a fun character to draw. I didn't know very much about her. Why is she in a tunnel system? You silly goose. Don't ask questions. I thought it would be a cool lighting scenario, and that's really all the explanation I have right now. I think at the end of this drawing, you can really see how much I grew during this 2-year period in my anatomy knowledge and confidence. I feel like every time I draw, my style ends up changing slightly, and you can see I got possessed by Arcane in the middle of this speed paint and then walked it back. Like I've said before, I like trying new things with my art, so every illustration is kind of an experiment for me. One day I hope to have a consistent style, but I actually like how different my art is able to look at the moment. I think the versatility is a strength rather than a weakness. Okay, so you know that Thena you saw before that I used to draw? Yeah, she's old Thena, pre-magic Thena. Now, oh my gosh, this is so stupid. Now we're going to design the new post-magic Thena, the version of her that has accepted her father's family pact. I started redesigning her outfit. I knew her looks would pretty much stay the same. I gave her these cool pants that could also look like a skirt. I also wanted to give her some cool armor-like pieces and jewelry. I gave her this cool belt slash bag slash pocket thing that I love. I made her regular outfit and an alternative version with an actual skirt for more fancy occasions. I pulled the expression study that I felt looked closest to how I wanted her face to look and added some rendering and love to it, and I am in love with the dangly horn jewelry I added there. Makes me happy. Finally, I wanted to draw her using her magic for the first time. I think her face is really cute here, but I'm not sure if it looks like her. Again, maybe it's a younger version of her, but that wasn't really what I was going for. Let me know what you think. Anyways, so this is the final design of Thena for now as her story continues to develop. Thank you for joining me today. If you like the videos or find them interesting, you could, you don't have to, but you can. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!